We're about a quarter of the way through the NBA season, and already we've seen things get shaken up in a way that I don't think anybody saw coming before the year started. Every season comes with an opportunity for players and teams to break out and reach new heights, and then usually that also comes with an equal amount of teams and players struggling to a shocking degree, and all of that brings us to today's video. Today we'll be discussing 5 things happening in the NBA right now that nobody saw coming before the year started. Some things are going according to plan so far, but a lot is happening on the contrary. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first thing we'll be discussing that nobody saw coming this season is Jared McCain leading the Rookie of the Year race so far. This draft class definitely did not have a heavy favorite to lead the way, and for most of the process, the group was seriously being questioned about whether any high-level talent was even going to come from it, so for a player that wasn't even selected in the lottery to be looking like the best of the bunch is easily a surprise. Before the year began, Zach Edey was viewed as an easy option to pick as the favorite, Reed Shepherd was another popular name thrown around in this conversation, and then the top picks of Zachary Sachet and Alex Sarr were also obviously being given a chance due to the opportunities that they were coming into, but none of them have been nearly as productive as McCain has. McCain is averaging about 17 points per game on the season, getting better and better with each passing week, originally barely playing at all to start the year, then carving out a consistent role off the bench, and then eventually he was playing so well that they began starting him, and in the starting lineup, he has really exploded. He went on a 7-game streak of scoring at least 20 points or more, and in the 7 games that he has started, he's averaging 24 points per game, taking 10 threes a night, knocking them down at a very solid 38% clip. He plays very under control, he moves as well as anybody without the ball in his hands, and he's just an incredibly smart decision maker. He fell out of the lottery on draft night because he may not be the most gifted athlete in the world, but he's only 20 years old and already plays smart like a 10-year veteran with legit all-star upside. The next thing that nobody saw coming this season was the Cleveland Cavaliers being a better team on offense than they are on defense. Since the Cavaliers have re-emerged as a playoff caliber squad, their identity has been built on the defensive side of the basketball. 2 years ago, they were the #1 ranked defense in the league, and last year they were also still top 10, ranking 7th overall. This season, they're still a great defense, ranking in the top 10, currently 8th in that regard, and the reason why they've been able to make such an unexpected leap to the top of the standings, though, is because they're now an absolutely elite offensive team to go along with it. Last season, the Cavaliers were a pretty middle-of-the-pack offense, ranking 16th in the NBA, and the offseason, they didn't really even make drastic changes to their roster, so there was no reason for anybody to really expect what we're seeing from them right now, and yet the power of growing chemistry and comfortability of teammates playing together for a longer period of time has clearly become underrated, and now this team is the 3rd best offense in the NBA, making them one of the most well-rounded squads there is. Darius Garland is back playing at an all-star level, running the offense in a much more efficient manner. Evan Mobley is taking promising strides as a scorer, putting up a career high in points per game, and their bench unit is one of the best in the whole league, led by 6th Man of the Year candidate Ty Jerome. Improvement from within typically comes gradually, but the Cavs are experiencing a massive boost that is now propelling them into legitimate contender status. The next thing that nobody saw coming this season is the Houston Rockets dominating without a dominant scoring threat. The Rockets didn't make the play-in tournament last season, but as a young squad, they definitely displayed a ton of promising steps in the right direction. Realistically, most believed that the playoffs were a lofty but somewhat attainable goal for them this year, with the play-in tournament being a more likely landing spot for them, yet they are now in 2nd place in the Western Conference standings a quarter of the way through the season. This team is incredibly deep at every position, and their young guys are really developing into stout stout defenders, which combined with the leadership from guys like Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet, has them ranked as the second best defense in the league so far, behind only first place Oklahoma City. Tari Eason and Amon Thompson are both becoming absolutely dominant defenders off the bench for them, and they aren't even starting every night. All of this success is coming, mind you, without the team having a single player averaging 20 or more points per game. Jalen Green, with his streaky production, is their leading scorer, putting up 19.3 points per game. Alperen Şengün is the focal point of the offense as their second leading scorer, and tremendous playmaker for a center. Fred VanVleet provides a steady ball handling presence, and then they're stacked with athletic wing talent that can get out, run, and make plays, so to be winning at the rate that they are without having a legitimate top-tier scorer is pretty impressive. The next thing nobody saw coming this year is the superstar emergence of LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball has been a very good NBA player since he's been drafted, and has already been named an All-Star in his young career as well, but after dealing with a ton of injury struggles over the last 2 years, he entered this season with pretty similar or even modest expectations. In the games that he played last season, he was putting up 24 points and 8 assists per game, electrifying plenty, but all of it got glossed over when he went down with an injury and missed the whole second half of the season. LaMelo has always been a player comfortable playing loose and free. He naturally brings an incredibly entertaining element to the game as a shot creator and ball handler, and his passing vision has been outstanding since his days as a prospect. But this season, he's adding all of that together to take things to a new level, producing like not only one of the best point guards in the game, but one of the best players in the game, period. LaMelo is currently the second leading scorer in the entire NBA, putting up 31 points per game, behind only Giannis Antetokounmpo in that mark, and he's reliably knocking down a high volume of threes while taking a league-leading 13 three-point attempts per game. Add in 7 assists per game, and we have a player who is forcing his way into some player ranking conversations that I doubt many people were expecting to be having right now. And finally, the last thing that nobody saw coming this season is the Memphis Grizzlies so easily picking back up where they left off 2 years ago. The Western Conference is an absolute bloodbath this season, as it has been pretty consistently over the last few years. When the Grizzlies originally started to rise back up, they finished as the 2 seed in the West in back-to-back seasons, before an injury bug struck them hard last year, causing a bit of a lost season. Everyone knew they would be back with their core players this season, but they didn't necessarily make any major additions in the offseason, so with all of that surrounding competition in their stacked conference, and with how quickly things can change in the NBA, they entered the year with quite a few skeptics about their ability to just pick back up where they left off. But at the moment, they're in 4th place in the standings, just 2.5 games back of the Thunder for 1st place, and are ahead of quite a few other teams that were viewed as contending teams coming into the season. Last year, they were the worst ranked offense in the NBA. This year, they're a top 5 offense in the league. They lost their pace last season, obviously, but then this season, they're back playing with the 3rd fastest pace in the league. It truly cannot be stated enough how important Ja Morant is to this team, and even though they never really get as much coverage as others around them, they consistently produce like a top-tier team at full strength. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what has surprised you the most this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.